So this little boy now is really growing up, and he has got a new home. Where's he going to, Tammy? You've gone blind on me, haven't you? Anyway. Somebody says they'll miss Pixie. Yeah, we miss Pixie, but we're going to Washington State. That's right. We're pouring our love into this little guy here while we get to enjoy him. He is really developing nicely, and it's really nice to see Sophia, who's first time mom, her playing with this baby. She's really, oh, I know you want mama, you want mama. But look at him. He is a new shade Rojo, a full tan pointed Merle that carries cream.
Harlequin.
Yeah, and he's a Harlequin, which means that he has a white background as opposed to being a grey background. So he's a Harlequin, and he is a. He came from his granddad is.
On which side?
Well, Teddy Grams.
Teddy Grams is his granddad.
And his daddy is Coy Grams, and his mama is Sophia, and
her mama.
Mama daddy. Sophia, and her daddy is
Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka. So there you go. Yeah, from Mo. So
Coy Grams came
from Texas bloodlines right here. Yeah. Texas all the way through. Yo, Texas.
Brandon Brioche.
Brandon Brioche is the yeah. He's just gorgeous.
It's Coy Grams' daddy.
His head.
Or owner.
The nice big fat wide head. He's really a nice little puppy.
And Mo is Willy Wonka's.
Flat face. Anyway, so we showed him off. All right. So, but don't call us on him because he is adopted. All right. Let's have a look here. We've got some questions coming up. In the Stars says, my question is about trachea measurements and what is deemed a hypoplastic trachea. I'm told that anything under a 60 is considered hypoplastic trachea, and not to breathe. I don't know the numbers on this at all. I mean, I can tell you this. This is a pretty unusual thing. The reason I say that is because I don't know about it. I mean, it sounds like I'm being big-headed here, but if I don't know about it, and I mean, you know, how many breedings have I been involved in? Well over 1,000. I mean, literally. I mean, our stud dogs have been used over and over and over and over again. I mean, I think last time I counted that a shipmate shipments was 7,000. So I mean, you know, a huge number. And anybody has ever asked me. Now, I have seen dogs that have got problems with what they call a mega esophagus, where they have problems. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But I don't know. So I suspect that you may have a very unusual dog here. So I think the first thing you should do is in the Stars should tell us what the symptoms are. What are the problems you're having? And then we'll have a general group discussion about that. So if you tell us what the symptoms are that you're having and the reason that you went to the vet, and then we can have a discussion about what we all think collectively. All right. Okay. How often do you feed 4- and 5-week-old puppies mush? Twice a day. So we want to get them in this regime. So, you know, our big dogs, they get fed in the morning. We wake up, they get to go outside to play. They come back in, they get to eat their food for about, you know, an hour or so. Then they go out and by the way, we feed them Life's Abundance, which is not the only food to feed, but that's what we feed. We sell it on My Breeder Supply, of course, that's part of the reason for it. Then they go out to play, and then we take the food bowls away in the evening because we want them with basically an empty bladder, empty intestines for the nighttime because we don't want them making a mess in the night. And they don't. So that's what we do with the adults. With the little ones, we transition them from mum. And by the way, this little boy that you saw right now is already eating out of mum's food bowl. So he is now, what, Tammy, 4.5 weeks old? He's eating his own mush, that's right. Tammy's got him on mush already with mum. So what we do with that, what we're doing with him is he gets Life's Abundance puppy that we mix with goat's milk. We throw it in the microwave for about 20 seconds. We mush it up. We leave it for about 20 minutes so it gets really mushy. Take a fork, get all the lumps out of it because we don't want him swallowing a lump. Does he have little teeth yet?
Yes.
The nubs. So he's kind of early to be weaned. Why are we weaning him? Because he's already eaten mum's milk, mum's food. And mum doesn't mind. And mum's milk's not particularly good anyway, but that's not the problem. So anyway, so we start by typically taking the mush, really mushy, make it almost a gravy, put the puppies with it in the morning, let them have at it for about 10 minutes, see how much they'll eat, and then let mum get in there. Mum's not there while that's going on because we don't want a competition. then let mum in there. She can finish up what food's left, do the same thing in the evening before they get put up for the night. So we feed twice a day. And for the most part, we're doing that until puppies leave at about 10 weeks old. I mean, you could certainly get puppies at some point where they're on once a day. The thing to watch out for here is in a litter, especially large litters, where you may have 1 or 2 small puppies, that they may not transition from mum to the mush very well. And so watch out, because they can actually get a situation where they can start losing weight. And so you may need to put them with mum a little bit longer. Maybe while you're feeding, you may be a competition thing. You may put a separate bowl out with the small puppies in their own little area where they can be away from the big puppies so they don't have competition. Or you could feed them all, and then after you finish that, put that little one back with mum for a little bit so she can nurse on mum. So just watch out for this transition from milk to mush. Why would you not start doing this at 2 weeks old? Because they're not really moving around very well, and their digestive system is set up for having goat's milk, not for kibble, basically. So what we're feeding is softened kibble. There's other products out there. We used to use raw canine, puppy mousse. Nothing wrong with that. Comes in a tin. The only reason we stopped using it was because it was pretty expensive, and we were doing just as well with the regular kibble. But look, those are not the only foods. I mean, I think the important thing here is to make sure what you're feeding the puppies is smashed up enough that it doesn't have lumps in it, because you don't want them swallowing something and getting it stuck in their throat. And watch out for this transition. So there's a long answer on that. So Inner Stars got back and said, so the throat measurements were done, but I had hips, spines, and elbows scored. My girl has no symptoms, but I had a throat measurements as well as her hips and spine. So what? I can't add an X-ray picture here to show it. I wonder if I could measure it to show you, perhaps. Well, I don't think I'll be able to see it. So that's the problem. We can have maybe a conversation afterwards. You might send me a picture of it. I'd like to know more about it. But here's my take on this. Probably bunk, I guess. Look, I might be wrong. Look. So first thing I'd say is there are vets out there who do not like the idea of us breeding dogs. That's their prerogative, but it's our right to breed dogs too. So a lot of those people, not all of them, but some of those vets, they frown upon us breeding dogs. They don't like it at all. Case in point, Chanel and Jake, our daughter and son-in-law, have a flat coat retriever who's had some problems with. He's had problems. It's a he, isn't it, Danny? Flat coat retriever. Is that a he dog? There's female. Okay. She's had problems with allergies from the get-go. So they went to a vet locally here because the other vet's 45 minutes away and they couldn't get in for whatever reason to get a Cytopoint shot. And they got a huge lecture about this dog. So Jake was like, just, in his mind, Jake saying, just give us a Cytopoint shot so we can get out of here because we're probably not coming back. Anyway, so, you've got an unusual situation here. And there was nothing wrong with the dog, and they'd say don't breed the dog because of this trachea problem. I mean, I would want a lot more information before I decided this was what I was not going to breed that dog. I'm not saying that the dog should be bred. I don't know that, but I'm just saying that I have zero experience with this, and I've got experience with lots and lots and lots and lots of breeding, and I haven't heard of this. So that bing, 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 bells buzzing saying the BS detector is going off. I don't know. I don't really like the answer I'm getting yet. I want more confirmation. Now, look, there's a whole bunch of you watching this. If any of you have had problems with elongated trachea, specifically on x-rays that show the point, we would like to hear from you right now. So let's see in the stars what other people come up with. Jesse James, do you recommend having a website? So yeah, I do, absolutely. I think that if you're going to, so this is all part of a marketing thing, right? If you've got puppies and you want to make puppies available to other people, then there's a number of, you've got to let people know you've got puppies. Now, just simply having a website is not going to fix this thing at all, because how do people find out about your website? The answer is you have to market it. Example would be YouTube. I showed you my puppy. You just saw that. That puppy has already got a new home in 4 weeks. How did that happen? Well, I do know how it happened. The person who got that puppy is somebody who watched this on a regular basis and has been doing it for many, many years. So then they can go to our website, because I can put that on YouTube. They can go to our website, and then they can see a lot more pictures and videos at their own leisure. They can find out about us, our philosophy, our guarantee, how we raise puppies, what mamas and daddies we have. They can see all that. You can't do that on simply a YouTube video. There's not enough time, and people won't even see it. They'll be bored, and they'll just slap off it. So yes, I think a website's a great thing. So then what should you do for a website? Well, what we've been using for a long time is WordPress, and it's free. So you can go get a WordPress account. You will have to go get a website. GoDaddy is the place that I use for most of this stuff. You can have GoDaddy host it for you for a fairly minimal fee. I don't know what that is. Now, I used to have an internet company, so the people who now take over the internet company do all this for me anyway. I don't get charged for it, which is very nice. Thank you, Dennis. But it's not expensive to have somebody host a website for you. So you've got to get a web name. So then let's talk about that for a second. What name should you choose? One that is memorable. One that is it gives you some idea about what you're trying to do. Example would be ours is Love My Pups. You know, if somebody sees Love My Pups, the first thing is they're probably going to spell it correctly and get it into a Google to search for it correctly. It's pretty easy. LOVEMYPUPS, Love My Pups. Easy, right? And also it's explanatory to what we do. We care about puppies. There you go. So choose a name. Don't be clever on this and choose something that only means that makes sense to you. Choose a web name that somebody can remember. And you'll have a hard time to start with because you'll find all the names you come up with have already been taken. But get yourself a website. Have somebody host it. I would recommend GoDaddy. Go get your WordPress site and then learn about WordPress. It's not difficult, but like everything, you have to play around with it for, half a day even to kind of get somewhat remotely an idea about what's going on. It comes with templates. You can just plug things in the right holes, but you still got to understand a little bit about it. But yes, get a website. So there's a long answer to that one. So Mr. Clean says, I have a pregnant female almost due. When should I give her calcium for milk? You would think that you'd want to give calcium right away to get the milk supply going, but that is the wrong thing to do. So we've got this thing called a calcium cycle in dogs. And the problem you have is their calcium levels, if they drop too much, then they can get hypoclampsia. And that is basically a loss of calcium that can end up with a dog that wigs out. It happens much more in small dogs like Chihuahuas. They can go into a coma. They can act very strange. And they can be completely disorientated, and they can really get in trouble. If you give calcium before the milk is being used by the puppies, you can mess up the calcium cycle. So don't start giving calcium until the puppies are here. And then I would start from them first feeding off the puppies here. What we do is we put some cottage cheese, a dollop of it on their food. They like to eat it. Don't use too much because that can give them diarrhea. But I suspect that the calcium you give orally does not get ingested, not get into their bloodstream very well. So I don't know how effective this is. Now, never had a problem with hypoclampsia with our dogs, but Frenchies don't typically have problems with it anyway. So I'm not sure that means very much. There's things like Nutrical, which might be a slightly better way of getting calcium in. If your dog gets into problems, you go to the vet, they draw blood, they look at the calcium levels, and they will then give an IV to slowly add calcium to that dog. You can put too much in, so they have to slowly add the right amount of calcium. So it's a bit of a tricky thing. So for us, cottage cheese seems to work okay, but just don't overdo it because you can give diarrhea, and don't do it before the puppies are first here. Okay, let's have a look here. Extraordinary, beautiful journey. Hey, we want more thumbs up, by the way. We've only got 15 of you who've given us thumbs up. It's Christmas. Come on, let's be generous. Give us a thumbs up. Tammy, should they give us thumbs up?
Yes.
Tammy says yes, you should. Extraordinary, beautiful journey says, my female irritated her incision, so she's had a C-section. I had to separate puppies and put a cone on her puppies, are day 8 old. Till then, are puppies out of aspiration danger? And when is tube feeding not necessary? Good question. Okay, so multi-part question then. So let's tackle the first thing about the incision. So this is something, apparently you did it, good, that you should be checking your mom's incision on a daily basis to make sure that it's clean and it hasn't opened up. Typically, you have at least a couple of layers of stitches. You've got the subcutaneous layer that you can't see that dissolve, and then the outside layer of stitches that typically you can see, and you remove those around day 14. They come undone, you can get into trouble. We had a dog one time that it all opened up. Well, they didn't all open up, but half it opened up, and you could see the inside of the dog. You could see intestines there. And it was a bad situation. The dog died. It was not a good situation at all. It was horrible. So one of the things that could be causing this problem is puppies' nails. That they grow really quickly and they get really sharp. Then typically they're not on concrete. They're on maybe a plastic tray or soft bedding, and it doesn't give them ability to wear down their nails. Their nails grow quickly. They get little sharp pointers on. How's that puppy, Tammy, on her nails? Oh, so Tammy trimmed the nails the other day. But the point here is they are doing this to mum, trying to get the milk to come in, so when they're like this, and they scratch mum, and they irritate it, and the whole thing gets inflamed. So keep these things trimmed down. Look at the stitches themselves. If you've got stitches that got long threads on them, just like the stitches that you might see on tying off umbilical cords, we cut those short so that dogs and puppies can't get to those. Now, so I've answered that part of the question. So let's have a look here. So you put a cone on here. So the real question you asked, though, was, they're 8 days old, when are the puppies out of aspiration danger? Bring this puppy over here, Dan. Tammy's coming over here.
I'm not coming in.
Oh, you're not coming in? Okay, anyway. So can you show that? Hey, furry Frenchies just gave us a little bonus there. Thank you, fluffy furry Frenchies. That's very nice of you. Thanks very much. Christmas present. Yes. So you can see Tammy's got those paws really trimmed back. So you can see the little nubs. And it can be a little bit difficult. You've really got to get some good light. I like to use a pair of wire cutters. Tammy's got some little trimmers. Just to make sure those things are wore down. You can get a little nail file and nail file them on a little bit too. And they do the same thing for mum too. Mum may not have had her nails done. She should have her nails trimmed too, because they can end up being like big hooks. In fact, we had to do that to Sophia here recently. So yeah. All right. So aspiration pneumonia. Back to what the question was. So go away, Tammy. Thank you. You won't be in the video. We want you out of here. Okay, aspiration pneumonia. Look, you're never out of aspiration pneumonia. Anytime that a puppy is nursing, it can get aspiration pneumonia. It's very frequent that to see a puppy that's nursing has got milk running out of its nose. Hopefully that does not develop into aspiration pneumonia. If you see this going on, don't panic. You can certainly go get one of those nose suckers and suck stuff out. But you may see some puppies that they are always getting this flow of milk out of the nose. Mum's milk's really good, especially for those of you who don't let puppies and mums stay together, but you separate them. You bring them together every 3 hours. I think that is asking for problems because the puppies are really hungry. Mum's milk pressure is built up. She's got a lot of milk supply there, and they're going hell for leather on it. The next thing you know, milk around the noses. You can't stop that. So what can you do? First one is, if you can do it, I would recommend that you do what we do. Leave mums and pups together 24/7. It works very well for us. You've got to have a pig rail. You've got to make sure you set up properly. That's a whole other conversation. So then the next thing is that if you do see milk flowing out, go get a paper towel and mop it up. Get a squeeze bulb and suck it out. And then watch those puppies. If they start to get a clear discharge, that means they've probably developed into aspiration pneumonia, and don't muck around. Get them on Clavamox or amoxicillin right away. So, tube feeding is highly unlikely that you'll get any problems with aspiration pneumonia because you are dumping the milk right down into their stomach, as opposed to where they're sucking it, it's going past through their esophagus and past where there's the opening, the epiglottis and all that kind of stuff when you get into the lungs. So to me, it seems like if you've got to do this, tube feeding is faster, safer, you know exactly what the puppy's getting. So really, you shouldn't have a problem with aspiration pneumonia when you're tube feeding a puppy. There's those of you out here who have never tube fed who are very worried this is a scary thing, and the whole idea about doing it just worries the heck out of you. Go look at my videos on this. I can tell you, it's like riding a bicycle. Once you've learned how to do it, which is not difficult, once you know how you measure the tube to make sure it's going into the stomach, I can literally tube feed a puppy in less than 30 seconds. I mean, I could tube feed a puppy probably, I mean, I won't say boasting here. I could probably tube feed a puppy in 10 seconds, that quick. I mean, it takes more time to get the milk warmed up, such a syringe, it does the actual feeding itself. The feeding is this quick. Here's a syringe. Done. Was that 3 seconds? Take you about 3 seconds to get it down in there. The whole thing's done in 10 seconds. Easy. As opposed to getting a bottle out. To bottle feed a puppy might take you 10 minutes a puppy. You've got 5 puppies or 6 puppies. You spend an hour bottle feeding puppies, and you've got to do that again 2 hours later. It took you an hour to do it, and do it every 3 hours. So it just, you know, and you've got to get up in the middle of the night to do this. Man, it's just like, life's just not very nice. Learn how to tube feed. So in the star set, a lot of vets here in Australia are measuring trachea and saying any narrow trachea shouldn't be fed. Well, there you go. So they're imposing their own rules. I can tell you this, the Frenchies in Australia are no different than the Frenchies in England, no different than the Frenchies in the USA. I mean, look, there are some differences, sure, slightly different pedigrees maybe, but for the large part, they're going to be the same Frenchies, right? We're not doing that in America. So I personally would breed the dog. And if there's something else that's obviously wrong with this dog, I'd breed the dog and see what happens on this first litter. And if you get reports of having problems, stop breeding that dog. But I suspect it'll be just like every other litter that you have, and for the most part, all the puppies will be absolutely fine. My 2 cents worth. If other people think that's wrong, chime in now. How many times would you breed your Frenchies? So I answered this one before, but just I've got a video that says unethical. If you put the word unethical in, and love my pups, you'll come up with a video that talks about it in detail. But basically, in a nutshell, what it is how was the last breeding? If you did a C-section, somebody was there to look at the uterus. If the uterus looks good, that's a plus. If the uterus looks bad, if it's got thin places, scarring, got adhesions, maybe you don't breed that dog anymore. The next one is, how was the litter? Was the litter successful? Did you have a lot of problems with puppies? If you did, then don't do it again. If it was fine, you're still a go. Number 3 would be, how did mum act from this? Was she nice to her puppies? Was she easy and looking after her puppies? Did she bounce back from this well? You know, was this a good experience for mum? If it was, keep on going. And the third one must be, what was your experience with this? Did you have fun with it? Was it a nightmare? Did you find it was easy to get people to adopt the puppies? Was it financially successful, if that's important? And if all those things come up as A's, breed her next time. Absolutely breed her next time. Tammy likes to wait every now and then. She doesn't like to breed dogs back to back to back to back to back. Typically, you miss a few, so you all don't breed dogs back to back to back. Kit, how many litters has Kit had, Tammy? 3? Kit's had 3 litters. We retired her in this last one because there was a little bit of thinning on the uterus. But you know, she came back in 6 months later. She actually had a year's break because she just slowly come back in. We thought that was kind of a bit funny, but she had the same size litter she's already had. She always had a litter of 4 dogs, and the litter was fine, and probably breed her again, but we decided not to. So, in the stars, do you also set up lists of interest before going into breeding? I don't understand the question. You also set up lists of interest. You have to explain what you mean by that. Maybe somebody else understands that. I don't understand the question. So re-give us that question. Boss Money Worldwide says, hello, how are you doing? Oh, you're doing a little bit better, but we still got half of you haven't given us thumbs up. More thumbs up. Come on, give us thumbs up. It's Christmas time. Be generous. Boss Money Worldwide. Hello, James. My question is about DNA. I received my French's results back. So this dog is, well, you got some stuff here that doesn't look right. You say that she's big E, and big EM. Big EM, those all reside on the same locus. You can only have 2 of those. You gave us 4, but either way, this is not a cream dog, not a cream carrier, and it presumably carries mask. It has a mask. Big B does not carry Rojo. NN on Coco does not carry the other version of chocolate. Little D. This is absolutely a blue dog. KBKY carries a copy of Brindle. It's a blue Brindle. AY, if it didn't have the KB, it'd be a fawn blue dog as opposed to a brindle. The brindle overrides the fawn, AY. And it says NN for tan. That's because it's AYAY. Big M, little m, you've got yourself a merle. So you have yourself here a blue brindle merle. And a blue brindle merle will look just like a blue merle because the brindling and the merle are kind of similar in the way they do this color variations. So although this is a brindle merle, you probably wouldn't know it without having a DNA test. You just say it's a merle. Big S, little SP carries one copy of pied. It's not pied. It probably has a splash of white on its chest. That's normal for a pied dog. I don't know what RR is, and I don't know what HH is. But what you have here is a blue brindle merle with mask. Camry Durant is from Colorado, is having gobstopper puppies tomorrow. Yes, very good. Yes, so we've got some stuff on the way to you. Should have got there a couple of days earlier, I think. I don't know if it's going to arrive tomorrow or the next day, but it's on its way. She's got a number of things from us in the past. She's getting the lift. Very nice to have, makes it so much easier to go check the puppies out. We really recommend the lift. And she's getting poop trays, good stuff. She's had poop trays. And she's got our heated whelping kit. She's got all that from previous litters as well. But Camry's a good person. She cares about her dogs. Crossroad Canines has just joined us. Olivia Robinson's here. Hi, Olivia. Fluffy Furry Frenchies. I have to answer your question because you gave us a little donation, which we really appreciate. Thank you very much, Fluffy Furry Friends. Have you ever had a problem with puppies eating too much mush and getting reflux and aspirating milk out of their snot? Absolutely, you betcha. So there's a number of things that you can see here in puppies. The first one is we're back to this. We don't like to separate puppies. We like puppies to feed when they're ready, not when you're ready. We feel like that it's like you only getting fed once a day and there's 10 other people at the table and you're worried there's not enough food and you're just gobbling as fast as you can, as opposed to there's a buffet table out there full of wonderful stuff, which in this case is mum's milk. And there's 5 or 6 other people around, but they're sitting in chairs and laughing and talking. And you get in there and you get to eat at your own leisure and you don't have food just piling out of your face, out of your mouth. So we think that helps a lot if you can let them nurse when they're ready, not when you decide to put them in there every 3 hours. And mum, by the way, is a lot more happier about this. Because look, for those of you who had kids, as new mamas, you are not happy when your babies are taken away from you. The best time in your life is when you've got a baby, its naked body up against your chest. That's got to be an absolutely wonderful moment for you. I mean, as a man, I don't fully understand it, but I can wrap my head around it. It's got to be a fantastic, wonderful feeling. And when that that baby is wrenched away from you and disappeared, you don't know where it's going to. That's not going to be a good feeling. And do you think that dogs are any different than the rest of the mammals on this earth, humans included? Obviously, they have a slightly different understanding of what's happening next. But I'm sure they don't like that. And so I say, I got kind of confused here as to what I was even talking about. Yes, so that if you take them away, you're asking for potential to have reflux. But look, we talked about this. What do? Get a towel, mop it up, get a suck it out. You see them discharge their nose, get them on claver mats because it could, antibiotics because it could develop into pneumonia, and that is not a joke. So I think that if you look at the reasons that puppies don't live, I think one of them is that puppies are taken early and their lungs have not developed properly and they have problems breathing. Those puppies may die in the next 48 to 72 hours. That is something that happens a lot. And when that happens, you can lose a whole litter of it or lose half a litter. And I talk to lots of people on literally every week. 3 or 4 people who run into this problem. So that's the first one. That is completely avoidable, totally avoidable. Don't take puppies early. Number 2 would be that they've got cold. Puppies that get cold can get in trouble very quickly. They can't regulate the temperature. They're very small with a lot of surface area to weight. They can get in trouble in a hurry. Hey, Miranda Markley just gave us a little donation. Thank you, Miranda. That's very sweet of you. That's very kind. Thank you. So they get cold. Number 3 is they get squashed. If you don't have a pig rail, you are completely missing the boat. It's so easy to put a pig rail on whatever your setup is. You must have a pig rail. Mums will fall asleep. Mums will shuffle around when they're asleep. They'll back a puppy up to a wall or a cage, and the puppy gets squashed. It can't breathe, it can't move, and it's dead. So you've got to have a pig rail. And then the last one would be milk inhalation developing pneumonia. And that one, if you look after it and you treat it when you first see the problem, you can fix it. So these are all fixable things. And it's all about learning what you're doing and hopefully not learning from a bad experience, but learning from people like me who are telling you how to do it right so you don't run into problems. Okay. Miranda Marcus says, hello, just got in love with your channel, been following a while. I don't breed Frenchies, but I do Boston Terriers. And you gave us a donation. Well, how special is that? Thank you very much. Look, we are very glad to have you here. And I think the point here is that the advice that we're giving is not specific to Frenchies at all. It's specific to the whole world of dogs. When we start talking about DNA, it might be a bit more specific then. I don't know a lot about DNA on other breeds. I know that about labs, and I know a lot about it on Frenchies. But other breeds are going to be a little bit different. So there are going to be some things that are specific to Frenchies. So if you ask general genetics questions, I'll be able to answer them. If you ask me specific questions about color matchings on other breeds, I have to give it a shot, but I pretty well get it wrong. Tuscan House of Frenchies gives us a thumbs up. So yeah, Miranda, good luck with your Boston Terriers. We like Bostons. And by the way, they are very similar to Frenchies in terms of all the things that you do, including DNA. Okay, Heck TikTok 007, to add to Boss Money's question, do you have or could you make a video on how to read a DNA report? I have a 13-part series on YouTube about DNA. It talks about everything. It's not, I mean, I did this a couple of years ago, so it doesn't talk about pinks, doesn't talk about huskies, doesn't talk about big ropes. It does talk about everything else. And so that goes into great detail, and I explain what all the letters are and how they match together and what you get. So I would say start off by doing that. I probably need to do another video on DNA since we've got new things coming around. So I probably would do one of those here in the next month. I'll probably do another series on it. Bees in the Trees talked about the little boy, says reminds me of Trixie. Yeah, I mean, but Trixie was that puppy now this morning weighed 25 ounces. That was 25 ounces at about 4 weeks old. So that's a pound and what's that? A pound and 9 ounces, pound and a half. That puppy's right on track to where it's not going to be a big dog, but I mean, it's a lot. Trixie struggled to get past 7 ounces for the first 5 weeks of her life. She was at her birth weight, and it was, quite worrisome. But hey, we got past it. She's a happy little puppy with a 10-year-old girl that loves her. Rhonda Lee says he's so tired. Yeah, he is tired. He fights with mum all the time. They are in there just playing with each other all the time. It's wonderful to watch. I mean, I get worried sometimes that Sophia gets a little rough, but man, he's dishing it out and trying to bite her on the lip, and it's fun to watch them. They'll be really fun, yes. Okay. Olivia Robinson said those nails are amazing. I'm not sure he's talking about Tammy's nails or the puppy's nails. Sutton Family Poodles gives everybody a hi and everybody lots of love, and we're glad to see you here. Nacho Lion, I'm needing your heating tape with the cable inside it. Can you sell me that, please? I'll pay maybe the same size as your big crate. So the answer on this is that you can go to My Breeder Supply, and you can order any size you want. You can put a custom size in it. I don't think it's any more expensive these days. You just give us the outside dimensions of your cage. We will subtract about 3 inches off that because we want the tape to be inside the wall. We don't want puppies right up against the wall. So if you give us the actual measurements of your crate, you'll get a tape that is 3 inches shorter and 3 inches less in length. And so just go there for it. I think the current price is like a little over $200. You have to buy the pig rail adapters separately. I think they're like $16 or $17 for a set of 4. The whole thing's pretty inexpensive, and it gives you different shipping methods. You can have it shipped out overnight if you need it, and they'll get it to you the next day. It's expensive when you ship it overnight. It's not expensive if you do the slow boat route, but the slow boat route typically in most places 4 or 5 days. Cynthia Gale. Due date of our female is 12/29. Have a vet appointment for a PG test on 12/27. So that's not exactly the way that I would do it, but it's okay that you are getting on top of it. That's great. Here's what I do. I take the date that we did the AI, and I roll that forward 61 days. And by the way, for the most cases, unless you come across February the 28th, 29th, that the date that you bred, 2 months later, it'll be on the same day of the month. You bred on the 21st of October, puppy's due on December the 21st. That's going to be really close. Now, if you bred early or late, it will affect this date and you'll get this date wrong. Small litter will be the result, and that can really mess up your time. But then what I do is I start taking the temperature of that puppy a week before that potential due date, and I watch the temperature start to drop. And I do my first PG test when I'm either a day away from due date or temperature has dropped below 99.3. The problem with doing a PG test before that is not very meaningful. People ask me a lot, hey, my dog's got a PG level of 4.5, when will she have puppies? Nobody knows. The PG test is just a go, no go. The books say you don't do C-sections unless the level is 3 or less. My numbers are different than that. My numbers, depending on the machine that you're using, and I'm not that happy these days with timing things strictly off progesterone levels, because you can have dogs the progesterone level is still 7 and they're going into whelp. I don't know why, but I had one of those the other day for a customer. I think that a combination of the number of days since you bred, what the PG level was when you bred to make sure your timing is right, that you've got a sensible sized litter coming up, what her temperature is, less than 99.0 puppies in 24 hours, but the dog's not eating any food, typically puppies within 24 hours, nesting, typically puppies that day, panting, you're getting really close, beginning stages of labor, don't hang around, go to the vet. You don't need a PG test. If you've got all of that lines up properly, you're in the right place. But if you're in doubt, the PG test, but having a PG test done a few days prior to due date is probably a waste of money. Dergio Kennels I would like to know more about this allergy shot. Well, so the flat coat retriever that Chanel Jake has gets a cytopoint shot, and that helps a lot. However, I had a conversation with them today about her because the cytopoint shot was not still getting to the point where it wasn't working as well. Now, I can't spell the cytopoint. Other people out here might be able to spell it. I'm sure if you Google cytopoint, you'll find out about it. It's a shot that I think you give about every 3 months. Again, I'm not an expert in this, so I never had to give it to a dog. But they changed that dog to a salmon-based formula, and that made a lot of difference. The dog had a kind of a yeasty smell and kind of got crustiness under its arms. It was obviously having problems with this. Diet. They had tried diets before, but they combined that with a cytopoint, and that really helped, for the most part, get rid of this dog's itching problem. So what do you do with the dog that's got allergies? Well, why is it having allergies? Is it a genetic disposition? Is it a reaction to the environment, like grass allergies or something happens? The dog comes in, it's all red under its belly. It might be a grass allergy. Is it a food-based allergy? So, there's some things that you can do to try to find out what's going on. So what I would do if you've got a dog that's having allergies is keep a record. I keep notes I use Google Calendars. I keep notes in there about every day that something's happened that I think I want to track. I'll put the name of that dog down and I'll put down. So for instance, with my dogs, I can look up any of my dogs and I can see when I've had PG tests, when I bred them, who they bred them to, what the PG levels were, when they had puppies, what puppies they had. I've got a lot of information. It's useful for next time. Same thing with allergies. Keep track of what happened the day that you saw a particular reaction. That way it might give you an idea about whether or not there was a high pollen count there, or the dog spent a lot of time outside, or maybe if you do diet, what diet you've been doing, and maybe you change a diet for a week, go on a very bland diet for a week, maybe something like rice-based diet as opposed to a grain-based diet, poultry diet versus a fish diet. Typically fish diets are better, but you've got to mix this thing up. And then if none of that works, maybe you have to have allergy shots. You don't want to give allergy shots if you can avoid them. Tuscan House of French said hello from Gary and Jennifer. Good to see you guys here. Miranda Markley, let's have a look here. Okay, so Cynthia Gale followed up this thing about having a puppies of 12-29 when she thinks she's going to have puppies. Do you think she'll be ready at 2 days, at 2 days early? Well, look, you want me to get my crystal ball out and rub it real lit and look in it and get my 8-ball up, shaking it says maybe? Who knows? I mean, I don't know. I haven't even seen a dog. And furthermore, the problem is that you cannot look at a dog and get the timing right without investigating what's going on. And I think the single best things that you can do would be the date that you bred, 61 days forward, and a temperature. Those are probably the best indicators of what's going on. PG test confirms you're in the right place and tell you how many days you've got to go. The not eating food typically means you're 24 hours out. The nesting typically means it's going to be that day sometime. The panting, you're getting really close. That's it. Nobody else. Here's the problem. Look, so we're used to this. Humans having babies a month early, preemie babies. They put them in a neonatal care unit. Those babies do fine. You know, it's not a disaster. You take puppies 2 days or more before their due date, and you're likely to run into some serious problems. Premature puppies can get in trouble. Premature puppies are, if you've got a premature puppy, and that means one that's been born with a slick face, leather-looking face, no fur on its face, almost looks like a little bird with bulgy eyes, that puppy needs an incubator. It needs oxygen, and it probably needs tube feeding. And if you don't do those things, those puppies probably will not survive. The best thing you can do is never get into that situation in the first place by getting your time. And it is definitely an art to this. And the problem you've got is I mean, I think the world of vets, we've got lots of vets, like they're all wonderful people. But I think that I rely much more on myself to time this than I do my vets. I think that there are a lot of vets, you know, they might have done 10 C-sections, maybe, you know, maybe, you know, I've done a hell of a lot more than that. I mean, I've done thousands of these, not C-sections, but I mean, in terms of helping people time with puppies, thousands of them literally. So I've got a lot of experience with this, and it's always the same thing. It's, you know, you get into this situation where you've got the weekend coming up, and the vet's not going to be around. And so you're worried about what you're going to do. And the answer is you have to have plan B and plan C so that if these puppies come early, you can do something about it. But always, if you possibly can, try to plan this so you have the puppies during the daylight when the office is open and everybody's there and the stress level is low. Not when you've got puppy, the mama that's starting to try having contractions and it's 2 o'clock in the morning and trying to find somebody who can help you. That is a shitty place to be. And you're doing pretty good on restrictions, but there's 10 of you who haven't given them. We want some more thumbs up. So Amber One says, what's your take on breeding a Frenchie puppy at 25.2? Depends what the machine was. If that's a fine care machine, I say that's really a great place to be. If I was going to do a single breeding on a fine care machine, that number would be that number right there. I mean, something between a 22 and a 26 on a one-time breeding with a fine care machine, that'd be the number. If the number on a fine care machine was 30 plus, then I would like to see you do a TCI or a surgical. If that's a 22 on a IDEX machine, you probably should be doing a TCI. On an IDEX, you want to do your first breeding or a vaginal about a 15. Goes up about 70% every day. So if you're at a 15 today, you're going to be about a 25 tomorrow. If you're breeding a day late, you do a TCI or a surgical. Why? Because the semen does not have to swim all the way up the vaginal tract to get there, and so it shaves off the better part of the day. Oh, I like this question. Muhard Ingram says, how can I give donations? I don't know. There's going to be a button up there somewhere. Maybe Sarah can chime in because she knows everything about this stuff. Maybe Sarah can chime in and tell us how one would go about giving a donation on here, because we'd love you to do that, of course. And so there's got to be a button somewhere. And I'm looking, I've got the live feed going on myself too, and I don't see how to do it. Oh, I'm not signed in. Yes. All right. So maybe Sarah will chime in on that. So Heck TikTok, what is the correct response one should have when questioned about breeding and that it's inhumane? Maybe there's another question above that because I don't understand. I think I've jumped through some stuff. Let me just ignore that for a moment. We'll get back to it. Miranda Markley, I have a friend that docked her pup's tails. They were not screws or very long, but longer than desirable. Now all the others have healed but one. I told her to go to the vet. But what could be the problem? Well, I don't know what kind of a dog you've got here that you dock the tails on. So, there's some dogs that you dock tails all the time. And, if you've got a dog with a big tail, then maybe one needs to put a stitch in it. If you've got a dog that's got a very small tail, you can probably just clamp it with some hemostats and just literally twist it off and do nothing else. So if you've got one that hasn't healed, then that would be a concern. I mean, what do you do? I mean, the very least that I would do would be to put some Neosporin on it. If it develops into some kind of infection, I'd be giving the dog antibiotics. And if it was an open wound, then it may have to have it recut so the margins are fresh and then sewed up. But I think that you've obviously got to the point where you've got to get a vet involved in this. So I'm not, neither am I, remember folks, I'm not a vet. That's the first thing. Remember this, that James gives you all this advice. This is just what I would do. It doesn't mean that you should take my advice. In fact, I recommend that anytime that somebody says anything about what you should do, you should question whether or not you think that the source is reliable and whether the information you're being given makes sense. And if either of those things don't jive, you should then think to yourself, I think I need a second opinion on this, which means you maybe go to the vet or you Google it or you talk to other breeders. Okay, some random Motley says, no swelling, no blood, no discharge, but a heavy scab. Well, I mean, if it's formed a scab, my guess is it's probably okay. You don't mess with the scab. You just leave it there till it falls off. If it's a happy puppy and it doesn't scream when you touch the tail, my guess is there's nothing else you do here and you leave it alone. That's my advice. In the stars. See, expression of interest, like people. So she had a question here. I'll ask the question again. Do you also set up lists of interest before you go into breeding? That was the question. And I said, I don't know what you mean. And then she came back and said, like an expression of interest, like people emailing or filling out a form to express their interest in buying a pup from you. Then they pay a deposit and secure a spot before the next heat. Okay, so there's let's just talk about this briefly. The first thing is by the way, is that any time that you're ever going to, a puppy is going to be leaving you to go to a customer or they're going to give you money, you should have a signed contract in place that explains exactly what you're doing. If somebody's going to give you some money for a future breeding, then I think that you should have a contract that explains what that means. Are they getting the first pick of the litter? Are they getting the first female from the litter? If not, what are they getting? And they're putting some money down. Is that a retainer? By the way, you should use the word retainer because retainer means something different than deposit. Retainer means they ain't getting the money back. Deposit means they could get their money back. So, for instance, are they putting a deposit down? They're going to give you $500 maybe because they are showing an interest in a future litter, and then they make a decision at a certain date on which puppy they want, and then that $500 is yours plus the extra money for the dog. You've got to spell this out, right? You don't want to be in a situation where you gave somebody, you took $500 from whatever the money is, for them to have first pick of the litter. And they don't want to make the first pick of the litter until the puppies are 8 weeks old. You can't sell any other puppies. You're screwed. You've got to think about the ifs and the ands and the maybes before you're going to enter into something like that. So, should you try to pre-sell a litter? You betcha. I think that's a great thing. We typically don't do it, but that's partly because we typically don't have any problems finding people who want our puppies, and we're basically a bit lazy. And I don't personally, I'm not too keen on taking money for something that I don't know what I can produce yet. I'd much rather the puppies are here. What we do is this. We have a litter of puppies. We might tell people about what those puppies are, but we have not told anybody about what the price of those puppies are until we've got DNA back from, in our case, animal genetics. We want to have confirmation of what we got because we want to know that we are representing the right thing when we offer puppies. We don't want to tell you that this is a lilac and tan Isabella platinum, when in fact it's just a cream dog. That is a bad situation because somebody's expecting something and they're getting less. We don't want to tell them it's a cream dog, when in fact it was a Isabella platinum because we undersold the dog. So my point here is for us, we don't pre-sell. And I think for you, that the only reason that you're going to pre-sell is because you know exactly what you've got. You're breeding these two dogs together. they historically always produce this. The DNA is such that you know exactly or very damn close to what you're going to get. Then maybe you could pre-sell those dogs, absolutely. But for us, we don't know. We're not pre-selling dogs, and so we haven't had a problem with that. And I think for those of you who don't have, well, Sarah just sent me $10. That was very nice of her. And she said, so let's celebrate the first super live stream. Well, that's wonderful. And maybe she'll tell us how she did that here in a second. We'll get to that. But I get back to this. Those of you who are new to this and haven't been selling dogs, you aren't going to have any luck pre-selling dogs because nobody knows squat about you, right? You know, how can you pre-sell a product that you've never produced before? You know, I mean, look, iPhones. The iPhone 15's coming out. They can pre-sell that because they've had the iPhone 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1 before it. Everybody's very excited about it. You're not in that situation. So I'm not keen on pre-selling, but some of you out here will say otherwise. And so if you do pre-sell, tell us what the circumstances are so we can share that information. Okay, let's have a look here. How are we doing on this? You are doing well on subscriptions. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Extraordinary Bullies, beautiful journey. I got your starter bundle. Been a lifesaver. I'm tube feeding every 3 hours for 4 days now. Did trim nails on puppies. I'm just waiting for mama to heal to put puppies back with mama. Yeah, so a couple of things about that. I don't know the exact circumstances here, but I would say this. The sooner that you can get puppies to nurse, puppies are much better off nursing if they can do it. If they don't nurse, they can potentially lose their suckle reflex. I've never seen this, but apparently it can happen. And the very act of nursing helps stimulate mum to produce more milk. One of the ways that you get a dog to dry up when you're weaning puppies is not let them suckle. If you don't let them suckle, then she dries up. So you can be a double-edged sword here that can really hit you in the nads in that you're taking the dogs away and now you've got a tube feed them because her milk's never coming back. So I would say if you can let them nurse, if she will allow it, maybe you've got to be there and rub on her head and tell her she's doing a good job so she doesn't get object to this. It's to let them nurse. Now, if she's having an undue stress where she's got, scarring that's causing a problem, then I can see that maybe you don't do that. However, remember, for us, and I'm sure the majority of you, we come back from a C-section. 1 hour after we're back from C-section, an hour after she's recovered from anesthesia, we're home, puppies are nursing. They don't seem to mind it at all. It amazes me that, I think about human beings who have C-sections that are in the hospital for a day or two. Our dogs come home and they're taking a ride home for an hour in the car and they're up and about and nursing puppies that quickly. And they don't showing any signs of distress where this has caused them hurt. They're not whimpering when it happens. They are happy to lick and snuffle on their puppies. So as soon as you can get them going, I think you're better off. And by the way, extraordinary, beautiful journey. I appreciate the fact you got a starter bundle. I think that any of you who are doing this, there are things that are in that starter bundle. If you don't have them, then you're crazy. I mean, who needs a feeding tube? Everybody needs a feeding tube. And here's the problem. Well, the first thing is, what's the cost of a feeding tube? It's a few dollars, right? It's part of our starter bundle, but it's a few bucks. The problem is, when you need a feeding tube, it's right freaking now. And you go try and find a feeding tube, I will bet you dollars to donuts, you will not go to a single store in your town and find a feeding tube. And furthermore, most of your vets will not have it either. Crazy as it is, I do have videos that you can see how you can do it yourself and make your own feeding tube off some gas line from a weed eater. So if you get into a pinch, there are ways around it, but it makes much more sense just to have the feeding tube. So good for you, extraordinary, beautiful journey. We appreciate you. Camry, just waiting on the whelp kits and the pig rails. Okay, well, the Camry, the pig rails are actually inside the. No, you should have two. It's all there. You got 2 packages. You got everything. It's just tucked inside there. It's all there. If you have any doubts about it, go check. If you don't find it, give me a call and we'll talk about it. But you should have it all. Boss Money Worldwide says, no, it says, let's celebrate their first super on live stream. I don't understand what a super is, but apparently we're having a super live stream, which is exciting for me. Boss Money Worldwide says, have you ever had a blue brindle merle? And if so, what did you breed that dog to, and what options do you have to pair with? Okay, so the answer is, first off, we have not had a brindle dog in a long, long time. Because if you listen to me at all, you'll always hear me knocking brindle as something that I don't want in my breeding program because it wipes out the tan points. Now, don't start getting mad at me. There's nothing wrong with brindle dogs. They are beautiful. I think the reverse brindles are very striking. Not a comment on anything to do with anything about a dog other than the fact that it doesn't let us express our tan points in dogs that we produce. That's it. So what would I do to breed that dog to? Well, the first thing is a merle is a great thing to produce that has brindle because the merle and the brindle look very similar and it's not obviously a merle dog. So that's the first thing. So merle dogs, people come to me and say, what I want to breed with, and they've got a brindle. I say, you might consider breeding to a merle because it makes for interesting colors and it kind of hides the merle. All right, fine. Don't breed a merle to a merle because those dogs can be deaf and blind. You just don't do that. Any dog that's a merle should be a little M, big M, one copy of merle, which means that half its offspring will be merle on average, not the whole lot. Don't breed merles to merles. People do that. They call it double merle, and you can get away with it, but you've got a chance that you'll have deaf and blind dogs, and that can be an issue. I think that a double merle dog is an interesting stud dog because it will produce a litter of all merles. But I don't have one, and I don't want to take the risk of trying to produce one. What options do we have to pair with? We've got lots of dogs. So you can go to lovemypups.com, go to the sire section. You can see them all there in their glory. It talks about what their colors are, what you'll get with results you'll get with different dogs, videos of them, pictures of them, the prices of the stud breeding, how the stud breeding goes. It's all there. Okay. So now we've got to this Heck TikTok 07. What is the correct response one should have when questioned about breeding and that it's inhumane? Oh, I see what the question is now. So people think that you're crazy for breeding dogs. Well, I mean, how do you answer it? Look, you're not going to win this battle. That's the first thing. If somebody thinks that you're a rotten person for breeding dogs, I promise you, you're not winning this battle. I think that it's a waste of time. All you can do is put their back up and they're going to piss you off. And I just don't think that it's a battle that's worth trying to win. No, it's like talking to people about the existence of God or whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. These things aren't things that you typically change in people. They've got very strong opinions about these things, right or wrong in your opinion, but they're their opinions. And I think that all you can say, and if somebody says to me, I think you're inhumane for breeding dogs, my answer is this. I've been checked out by a local pound. I got called on by a local pound. They didn't like what I was doing. The pound came and looked and they said, your place is better than my place. And I'm paid by the government to do a good job. James, you are doing a great job. You've got some happy dogs here. There's not a thing here that I think you should change. Hey, that doesn't sound inhumane to me. So I think that in your heart, you have to believe that what you're doing is right. Right now in this house here, there is one dog with one puppy and it's in our house. It's not off in a barn somewhere. It's in our house, enjoying life along with us. Today, there was 15 people in the house and all those people were playing with those dogs, having a great time. We have 2 other females and they are with us all the time. They are not separated where they're in cages in some dark hole somewhere. We care about our animals. We treat them correctly. If you do the same thing or something close to that, I don't think it's inhumane. But people would disagree with you and they'll think that it's a travesty breeding French Bulldogs or any dogs. I mean, example would be they would say, and somewhat quite rightly, that you are not doing a favor to these dogs because you're producing flat-faced dogs with small hips and big heads that can't birth. And that is exactly true. But I love French Bulldogs and they're beautiful dogs. We are not breeding those dogs for longevity. We're not breeding those dogs to live to 20 years old. They're not going to live 20 years old. That may not be the best thing. But I think that my Frenchies are glad they're on this earth. And they are rather they're on this earth than not being born in the first place. That's my answer. Sharon Nix, do you recommend plasma for pups after a C-section? I don't give plasma, but if you've got a puppy that's in trouble, I don't think there can be any harm with having plasma. So you can, I do have some plasma in my freezer. It's been there for a while now because I had a litter that I was worried about and didn't use it. But if you give plasma, you've got to give it orally in the first 24 hours, maybe 48 hours. After that, it's an injection where you put it under the skin. So, if you've got a mother, for instance, that died at birth, now there's no, you've got puppies that are in trouble, I don't think there's any harm in this. But is it going to be a miracle cure? I think probably not. But, if you're up against the wall, you try what you can try. Amanda, we're running out of time here, so we're going to try and run through. We've got a lot of questions here. Good Lord, we've got a lot of questions here. I'm going to keep on going until one or two things happens. Either you've dropped off and the count of number of people here has dropped off, or I've run out of questions. So we'll just keep on going. We'll run through them quickly. Hi, James. I bought Metroplex for my Frenchie. This is Amanda Darby. She weighs 16 pounds. I know you guys don't give out dosages and stuff, but maybe you can provide me a website or an idea. Thanks. Yes. Google it. Google it, Google it, Google it. Go put in there. Metroplex, by the way, is metronidazole. You give metronidazole for a dog with giardia. Typically, it's a powder or a tablet, and you weigh the dog, and then you see how many milligrams you give per pound of body weight. And from what I remember, it's 15 milligrams per pound of body weight. So a 16-pound dog would get something around, 500 milligrams sounds like a lot, but that's a whole tablet. You've got to Google this to find out what it is. Metronidazole, or Metroplex in your case, is kind of fairly vicious stuff. It's not things that are, I've never had a dog that got in trouble being given metronidazole for 8 days, but from what I've read, it's not the nicest of things for an animal. So I know they don't like it. It tastes bitter. I taste it myself. It's very bitter tasting. But what we do, by the way, is you can take some honey, put in with some honey, and they'll just gobble it up tomorrow. But you've got to get it right. Google giardia metronidazole dosage puppy. You will find it right there. Why don't I give out dosages? Because I may have got it wrong, and I don't want somebody coming back to me and saying, you got this wrong, my puppy died, you're responsible for it. And remember, I'm not a vet. So I cannot legally give you medical advice on dogs. That's something that it's there for a vet to do. It's not for me to do. So anything that I give you here is just my experience of what I would do. It's not what you should necessarily do. I know I mentioned that earlier on. I want to reinforce this. That remember, not a vet. The information I give is purely what I would do. Doesn't mean that it's the right for what you should do. So in all cases, if you're not sure, double up and go to the vet. If the numbers are high when you're having an early labor, PG level of 20 or higher. I haven't seen that. I've never seen a PG level of 20 or higher. That would worry me. If I had a dog that was at a PG level of 20 and I was about to do a C-section, I hadn't seen signs of nesting, panting, or visible labor, I wouldn't be doing a C-section. So, you can get wrong on this, especially with small litters, singleton puppies, where they can go very long. And sometimes I've been in a situation where I've taken the first time I had a premature litter, I was like 6 days late, was in a panic about this, and did a C-section. And the vet said, I don't know, James, you should do a C-section on this. I'm not comfortable with it. I said, nope, we're going to do a C-section. These puppies have been there long enough. Did a C-section, and I had premature puppies, 3 puppies, and 2 of them died. I've been there. Didn't have a PG machine back then, neither did the vet. But if you had a PG level 20, I would question this. I would be very careful. I would not be comfortable with that, having the other signs in place before I did a C-section with a PG level 20. Hold on a second. I read this wrong. I read this wrong. UAI'd at a level of 20. She had an early label on day 59. She was at a level of 2 on reverse PG. Now, you're probably fine on that. So what happened here is you probably did AI a day late. Because of that, the puppies are coming a day early. So when you think you're at day 59, you're really at day 60. And day 60 is probably when you're 1 day away from the right date. That's completely normal. Now, this doesn't worry me at all. PG level of 2 on reverse PG, I would go for it, especially if a temperature has dropped and you're showing some other signs. But I think you're in a safe area here. Natural Line says, smash the like button to keep the knowledge coming. That's exactly right. Nacho, did you do a surgical and was it a big litter? So the reason that's being asked, and it's quite correct, is is that typically it's when you get these small litters where you've got your timing wrong that can really get you messed up on when to take puppies. Typically, if you've got a big litter, it means you did do your breeding correctly, and then those large litters tend to come a day early, and you kind of notice. So if you have a litter of 6 or 7 puppies of Frenchie, and your PG level was sensible, in your case it was, then I would be very comfortable with what's going on. Oh, so you did a TCI and you had 3 pups, right? So 3 pups, it's what's an average number of puppies for a Frenchie? 4 or 5. It's a bit low, but not like crazy low. And then she says here, the natural line says here, levels of 15 to 19 on the AI and 21 to 21 to, and then so it looks like you did 2. You did a I'm not sure exactly what you're telling us here. It looks like you did 2. Okay. Oh, somebody here says cytopoint. CYTOPOINT. That's it. Cytopoint. That is the shot that Schnell and Jake are giving to their flat coat trio. So that was on an IDEX. So on an IDEX, a 21 is surgical and a 19 is maybe half a day late on a vaginal. So your numbers are sensible. I think you're probably in a good place. Rhonda Lee says that if you want to give me some money, it's next to the comment section. So maybe that helps. Maybe we'll see a flood of money come in and I'll get rich and I don't have to do this anymore. Maybe this will be my my Waterloo right now, and this will be where Tammy and I can go live on some island somewhere and just sip Mai Tais at your expense. That would be wonderful. We'll still be here for you, even if we're on a beach. We'll make sure there's an internet connection because we really enjoy doing these lives. Okay. And Nacho Line says the dollar symbol right next to the chat button. Okay, there you go. / smiley face. There you go. Natural Line says it's called a super stick or a super chat. Enter the amount you want to spend. Okay, so that's how you do it. Well, thank you. Not sure, but you could get a super sticker. Sarah says, does anyone else know? I don't. So the question here is, I think that you should be doing it. You should try to give me a super sticker because I suspect that means that we get a bigger donation. The one that was a super sticker was a $10 donation. And so I'm guessing that was the dollar figure that triggered the super sticker. And that was from Sarah. And we really appreciate that. Thank you very much. What litters? Corey Hart says, what litters do you have planned in the near future? Any creams or lilacs coming soon? No, we have no dogs that are in heat. We've got Kit, who we're not going to breed anymore. We've got Phoebe, whose last litter, she will be coming into heat soon. So we will breed her. And I'm not sure what we're going to breed her to. She is a platinum that carries fluffy. So we would like to get out of that, lilacs and platinums and fluffies. So, and maybe merles. So that's going to dictate somewhat what we will breed her to. So people, they come back to me and say, oh, I love Kit's litters, and you had some standard fawns. When are you going to have another puppy like that? Partly because Kit's such a beautiful dog. And the answer is, it's kind of, we're back to this inhumane part. The money's not there on the fawns. So, the question gets to be is, should you try to produce a fawn that's a $3,000-$4,000 dog versus example would be, a fluffy koi that might be a $20,000 dog. I mean, kind of a whore for the money here a little bit, the truth of it. And we don't just do this just for fun. There is a money aspect to this, right? So, but it's not all about the money. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to harp on the money. I mean, I want you to enjoy what you're doing. I want you to produce healthy, happy French bulldogs that look right. And then if you can add some color in there that helps your bottom line, go for it, right? And I think it's all about what you want to do too. This is not about somebody else should be dictating what you should be doing. I mean, in your conscience, whatever you want to do is probably fine. Extraordinarily beautiful journey. Day 61 from AI. Temp went below 98.5 and started panting. Called my vet. We drove 2 hours to a country vet in Southern Cali. Had a healthy litter of 3 puppies. C-section cost $550. Good for you. Nothing wrong with that. So that's another thing here is C-section costs in Southern Cal can be horrendously high. Thousands and thousands of dollars. I mean, I see people in emergency room situations in California who've paid $6,000 for a C-section. That is crazy. If you get caught with your pants down and you live in Southern California, you may be paying $6,000 for a C-section when you could have been paying $550 from a country vet. How do you get $550 for country vet? You planned it ahead of time. You're on top of it, so you know when you need to have a C-section done, so you don't try to wake up a country vet in the middle of the night. And you have our portable incubator, so you can travel 2 hours, go there and have the C-section done, travel back with the puppies in the portable incubator in your car, happy, healthy little puppies. So when you get home, everything's great, and you saved yourself $5,450 in your pocket that you would not have had before. That's a pretty good chunk of extra money, right? That's a vacation. Okay. Miranda says she appreciates our opinion. You're welcome. Sutton family, does anybody else have low volume? Are we talking about the sound? Because the answer is nobody's complaining about it. If the volume means sound, then the volume up, because I think it's good. Natural line C-section in Texas range from 650 to 850. It's about we're about the same here in Oklahoma, as long as you choose the right vets. I mean, we used to go to a vet in Texas. It was $300, $300 to $330. Then we had a vet in Elk City who was $300 to $350. But then they found out what we would do with our dogs, and they raised the rates. We couldn't get those prices anymore. Stupid us for keeping our mouths open. Anyway. So Sarah says there is a dollar amount that gets me a super deal. B says there is a $sign next to the comment bar. Sarah says if you click the arrow next to where you would write your chat, then it shows up a dollar badge and asks you how much to give. For a super chat here, I'm sending $10 that way. Okay, and she did, and we thank you. Natural Line says, my dream is to sell a litter before they drop due to puppies being so exotic showstoppers. Well, of course. Look, if you're producing something that is very unique, something that other people don't have, then you get people lining up their door for it. And I mean, in those situations, sure. The problem gets to be is you don't quite know what you've got, and you can either undersell or oversell it. And just don't get into a situation where you've sold a puppy with certain rights that you haven't really thought about exactly when they are going to make a decision on what puppy they're going to have and what price it's going to be. So just think about the what ifs. Nothing wrong with doing it, right? Extraordinarily Beautiful Journey says, expression of interest, you mean a waiting list? Sure, a bar is happy and picks puppy up, not feels like he has to take what is delivered. Yeah, I mean, so this is the thing that we do. It's basically first come, first serve, right? So this is when, so what happens is puppies have been born. Typically people want females before they ever want the males. And so people who, what I say to people is, look, if you want to put a deposit down, that puppy is now yours. We mark that as pending a finalized contract, but that puppy's yours. If you're going to do what the contract says, send them a contract. If you finish out the contract, that puppy's yours. But it's first, because lots of people will call you up and say, oh, I love that puppy. I'm going to get you some money tomorrow. And you never hear from them again. Somebody else called you up and they said, oh, I love that puppy. I'm ready to put a deposit in. They said, oh, no, I've already spoken to somebody that puppy's spoken for. And they never called you back. I don't count a sale until I've got a deposit and a signed contract. And I recommend you do the same thing. Ron the C says, I take deposits at 2 weeks or after. We're in the same boat. I mean, we don't take deposits till, we don't want to take deposits on a puppy that might not make it. That's not a good situation. If puppies get to be 10 days old, their eyes are open, you get a better feel of what the puppies are about. You know that you're out of any bad woods you could get into. I think that's just, by then you should have your DNA back. That all pairs with what Rhonda's saying. So I'm on the same place as Rhonda on this. Jamie Collective says, I have a litter of 5 puppies. They're 13 days old. They haven't been able to poop on their own since day 7. I had to do enemas to get them poop. I have not changed anything in mum's food or routine. So a couple of things here. First one is that, puppies can get constipated because they don't have enough hydration. So if you're mixing, and that's not the case here, but if you're mixing powdered milk, make sure you're putting enough water in it, because you can dehydrate puppies and get their bowels impacted because of this. But I would say this: if you've got to give them enemas, give them enemas. I've never ever heard of anybody who's given enemas to puppies and got to the point that the puppies could not poop on their own at some point because you give them too many enemas. Never heard it. What I say to people is, you can give enemas up to 3 times a day. So give them enemas. People also say, oh, puppy's eaten food and it hasn't pooped. That's fine. Look, do you poop every time you eat food? Because I don't. I poop once a day. Your puppies might poop once a day. And if you go look in the cage right now, in that crate out there where Sophia's with her little boy, you will not see a single mark on the pee pads anywhere. She is jolly on the spot and eating that poop up the moment it comes out. So I couldn't even tell you when the dog last pooped. I can tell you this though: it doesn't have a hard belly. It's not whining. It's a happy little dog, and it's putting weight on. Gem Collective, do you just keep on what I'm doing and wait until they start to eat mush food? What do you recommend? Yeah, I mean, look, I would do this. I would back off on the enemas and maybe give them an enema once a day. But if they've got hard swollen bellies and they're crying, yeah, give them an enema. If they're not, I probably wouldn't give them an enema. I'd let them see what goes on. Push it a little bit, right? More poop in the intestines, more poop gets pushed out, right? When you do an enema, do you get something out that looks really dried and hard? If it is, yeah, maybe they should try and hydrate them a bit more. You can always give them some a Pedialyte. Give them some Pedialyte, get a bit more liquid in them. How many studs do you have? I don't have any studs, but Cody's got all the studs these days. Our son, who's in Elk City, and I think he's got. I had at one point 18 stud dogs. We don't have 18 now. I think he's got probably 6 is probably the right number. You can go look on Love My Pups because I've got them all mentioned there. But there's about 6 these days. And so if you look at the stud business, it's definitely changed in nature from what it was back when COVID was going on. I mean, it was crazy the amount of stud business we were doing back then. So it has changed somewhat, but I think he's got 6 these days. Have you ever had a situation where a puppy's eyes have not opened past 2.5 weeks? No, I have not. But I would say just check the eyes. If the eyes are matted up, you can get dogs who've got a bit of an infection. They get crusted up, they get welded shut. In those situations, get yourself a warm brush rag and just go backwards and forwards like this and see if you can loosen things up. Maybe get if you see a little corner that's opened up a little bit, and you can tease it open. That may be the situation here. So, if they've got a swollen eye, I would absolutely be doing that. If they're 2.5 weeks. If you've got a puppy that's 8 days old with a swollen eye, I would not be trying to get it opened up. But if a little bit of it was opened up, then I would try to rub its eye and see if you get any muck and junk out, pus in particular. And if it is, I would get tetramycin cream, antibiotic cream, and put that on their eye and try to get some of that in the hole. I've had one time with a dog that had a problem where its eye was not right after it opened up. But all the other times, and I've seen it quite often, they've all been fine. So Nutchaline says subaphoric dermatitis is a staph infection, which is usually self-limiting within a few weeks. There must have been a question up there that I missed, but yes. So if you have a staph infection, the first thing to do is medication. The second thing that doesn't fix it is probably if they start to get a staph infection or bumps all over their body, it's probably time to give them some amoxicillin. Joe Sanchez, what's up, James? Do you have an insight on what makes pink? Also, do you know if a double merle can cause pink? I don't think the double merles cause the pink. I think it's an albinism gene that causes the pink. You can test for it. I don't know a lot more about it. Cody does, because he just bred and got a litter of pinks coming his way. So I will get with him and I'll find out more and we'll report on it next time. Sarah Chopping says Miranda Markley gave a super chat and wants to know what cradle cap is. I don't think there's an art in a second one. Okay, so a cradle cap is something you see in babies. Typically, they get little dots, and what this is an infection of the hair follicle, specifically because they've got poop. They've got their heads in. Maybe other puppies have got poop. that's been on the bedding, and they then get this little bump. It's kind of an acne bump. And what happens is the little acne bump flares up and the hair falls out in a little bald spot. It goes away. What you do for it is that you give them a medicated shampoo. The medicated shampoo in almost all these situations. Now, if they start to get a staph infection, it spreads beyond the head, starts to get on their back and other places, then maybe you give antibiotics. That needs a trip to the vet. But you start off with giving medicated shampoo. What medicated shampoo? Go to PetSmart, Pet's Edge, go to Amazon and buy a medicated shampoo. Good Lord, I've gone a long time here. I think we're going to have to shut this down soon, but let's just have a look here and see. Boss Money is talking here about health. If your dog has, so you're talking about invertible disc disease, IVD. The answer to this is should you be worried about it? The answer is if it's got a single copy, no, can't get it. I mean, not say can't get it, but it's not. You have to have 2 copies, 2 to tango. Okay, 2 copies of these health panel problems. So what do? I think it makes sense that if you've got a dog, like if there's certain things that just don't affect dogs. Frenchies, it's all like DM. Dogs, though they may have 2 copies of DM, they are not going to suffer from DM. People will tell you otherwise, but there's been proper clinical studies on this. Frenchies don't. Other dogs do. But I think if you're worried about this, breed to a dog that's clear. If you breed to a dog that's clear, the worst that can happen is half the puppies get 1 copy of that infliction. It probably is not going to be an issue. I suspect 30% I know, a third of all Frenchies have IVD. Pretty prevalent. And I don't know of dogs. I have not heard of a lot of dogs getting in trouble. I think that probably this is a bit of a mountain out of a molehill, but I may be wrong. Rachel Rochester's here. She's late to the party. Yes, you are. What do you think about Poodles? I don't know anything about them. C-section at Eon, Colorado is $8,000. Good Lord. You know what I do? I get in a car and I go to New Mexico. Not to live, but to get the C-section. Extraordinary beautiful. I do have the portable incubator, James. My vet loved it. Great bringing puppies home, knowing they were warm and safe for 2-hour ride home. Exactly right. Thank you very much. You're right. In Texas, go to the Josie Ranch, $2K for C-sections. If you live in Dallas, go to Durant Animal Hospital there in Oklahoma, and I think it's probably more like $500 for a C-section. And Natural Line says, Rondalee says, my husband is bedbound, so I'm basically on my own. It's hard but doable. Yep, sure. Well, I hope your hubby gets better. Okay, time for everything. Should I get a red eye glow in a lilac and tan big rope Frenchie who also carries Fluffy? Anytime that you get a dog that's got 2 copies of either version of chocolate or it's a merle, you get a red eye glow. So in your case, you've got a lilac dog, it's got 2 copies of chocolate, cocoa, it will have a red eye glow, absolutely. If it doesn't, something wrong. You've got the wrong DNA. Natural Line then confirms that, yes. It says, if a dog doesn't have red eye glow, it doesn't carry chocolate. Well, if it doesn't have a red eye glow, it doesn't carry 2 copies of chocolate, or it doesn't carry 2 copies of Roho, or it's not a merle. All other dogs don't have a red eye glow. And when we say red eye glow, the red eye glow can be, it's not a fleeting thing that you see when you take a picture. A red eye glow is a dominant thing that you see in a video in a dark room with a camera's lights on. It's obvious, and it's not just there and it's gone, it is there. Dogs that are 6 months older, they have a demonic red eye glow. It looks scary. And we're about done here. Right, so hey, we went very long on this. Apparently you want to listen to me. I can't imagine why, but he says that James needs a mod to focus on priority questions. Not everyone isn't priority. Well, so I will say one thing when I'm going to say, I think there is a problem here, and that is that I am repeating answers to questions a lot, and I know that the person who's answered the question hasn't asked that question before, but I think it does make sense that we should try to have a theme, and that we should have a theme-based thing, because those people who have listened to me rattle and spout the same thing over and over again are going to get bored with this, and I completely understand that. So I think that it does make more sense that we have a theme, and that we have at least half of this meetings that we have about a particular theme. And it does 2 things. First off, if you ahead of time can suggest on a theme, then if there's enough of you, I will make that a theme. And it means that if I don't know the answers, I will know the answers by the time we have the meeting, because I will have schooled myself on it, hopefully, so that I can hopefully be knowledgeable and not feed you full of crap, which is not what we want to do. All right. So I think that's it. Everybody have a wonderful Christmas, and we will see you right before the New Year's in. And for those of you are my special customers who gave me little donations, I appreciate you more than the rest of you. And I appreciate you all. Have a good time. Bye, everybody.